The meme arrived at 11:47 on a Tuesday night. A cartoon volleyball with a tiny crown and the caption, "Me, running the whole offense while everyone else figures out what a rotation is." Below it, Jordan had added, "This is you, scientifically accurate." I was in bed, laptop balanced, on my knees halfway through a brand identity project that was due Thursday. My apartment was dark, except for the screen glow. I'd been doing well, focused, professional, maintaining appropriate distance. Then my phone lit up with that meme, and I laughed out loud in my empty apartment. I stared at my own laugh like it had betrayed me. 3 weeks. We were 3 weeks into what was supposed to be a clean, transactional 6-week arrangement. I play, Lily heals. I go back to my quiet life. Instead, I had a coach who texted me terrible volleyball jokes at midnight, who saved me the good chair in the team room because she'd noticed I had lower back issues from hunching over a desk all day, who had started leaving oat milk in the gym's mini fridge because she'd remembered offhand that I was lactose intolerant. Jordan Hayes was systematically dismantling every defense I had, and she was doing it through small, thoughtful, infuriatingly considerate acts. Not grand gestures. Just attention, the specific, deliberate kind that made you feel like someone was actually watching, actually listening, actually building a map of who you were. It was worse than cruelty. I knew how to handle cruelty. I typed back, "Go to sleep." Her response, "Can't. Too busy being right about you." I put my phone face down and went back to work, or tried to. The logo I was designing blurred in front of me, colors refusing to resolve into anything coherent. This was becoming a problem. Thursday's practice started badly and got worse. A new player had joined the team, Priya, early 20s, enthusiastic in a way that reminded me painfully of myself at that age. She took an immediate shine to Jordan, following her around with questions, laughing at everything Jordan said, making it very clear through body language and the specific brightness of her smile that her interest extended beyond volleyball. It shouldn't have bothered me. I was halfway through a passing drill when I noticed Jordan patiently demonstrating something to Priya, adjusting her arm position with those careful coaching hands, and felt a specific twist in my chest that I absolutely refused to name. "Maya, ball's coming." I spun around just in time to catch a pass directly in the chest instead of the forearms. It bounced away. Rebecca winced sympathetically. "You okay?" "Fine." I retrieved the ball with more force than necessary. "Let's go again." I could feel Jordan's eyes on me for the rest of the drill, not in the sustained, assessing way she usually watched me. Something more cautious, like she was trying to figure out what had just shifted. After practice, while the team was filtering out in clusters of 2s and 3s, Jordan materialized at my shoulder. "What was that?" "What was what?" "You were distracted. You've never missed a read that obvious." She fell into step beside me toward the equipment room. "Something off today?" "Deadline stress. It's fine." She helped me stack the ball cart without being asked, the way she'd started doing lately. "Anything I can do?" The question was so genuine it made my teeth ache. "No, but thanks." We worked in silence for a moment. Jordan had a habit of being comfortable and quiet. She didn't fill it with noise the way a lot of people did. It was one of the things I'd cataloged about her without meaning to, filed away alongside the fact that she always started practice from the hardest drill and worked backward to simpler ones, and that she drank her coffee black except when she was stressed, at which point she added enough sugar to stun a horse. "Priya seems nice," I said, and hated myself immediately. Jordan glanced at me. "She does. Enthusiastic. Needs a lot of work on her footwork. She seems pretty interested in learning." The pause was not subtle. Jordan set down the last ball and turned to look at me fully. There was a beat of silence in which I could hear myself being an idiot. Then she said, very carefully, "Maya." "What? Are you—" She stopped, started again. "Nothing. Never mind." "Say it." She studied me for a long moment, and whatever she found in my expression made something in her own face soften in a way that was completely unfair. "I'm not interested in Priya," Jordan said quietly, "if that's what you're asking." The equipment room was too small, the fluorescent light was too bright. Jordan was standing too close, and the air between us had gone suddenly dense, charged with something neither of us was going to acknowledge out loud. "I wasn't asking that," I said. "Okay. I was just making conversation." "Okay," she said again, in a tone that made it clear she knew exactly what I'd been doing and was choosing, graciously, not to press it. I escaped before my face could do anything else incriminating. Rebecca's texts arrived the next morning before 9. Team wants to celebrate the winning streak. Party at my place Saturday after the game. You're coming. Don't say no. There will be good food, and I got a playlist going that has nothing by my ex-husband, which is progress. Before I could respond, a second message from a different contact. Rebecca told me to tell you that you're coming to her party. I'm also coming. It's not a hardship if we're both there, right? Jordan. Obviously. I told Rebecca I'd think about it. I told Jordan the same thing. By Saturday morning, I'd been group texted by 4 separate teammates who all claimed they'd be devastated if I didn't show, which had Lily's fingerprints all over it. We won the game. Our third straight. Jordan had been fine-tuning the offense around my blocking and Maya's approach, and it was working. We were genuinely becoming a team, the kind where people knew each other's rhythms and trusted them. After the final point, the celebration was immediate and loud. Rebecca screamed. Katie covered her face. 2 of the newer players jumped up and down in the back row. Jordan stood at the center of the court, watching it all with a quiet smile. She looked happy in a way that was different from the focused satisfaction she usually wore. Open. Young. She caught my eye across the chaos, and the smile shifted into something smaller and more private, just for me. I looked away first. Rebecca's house was warm and loud and smelled like homemade queso. By 9 p.m., the living room was full of team members in various states of volleyball-related injury and story-sharing exaggeration. Someone had put on a playlist that veered unpredictably between pop hits and 90s country. Rebecca, true to her word, was dancing with zero self-consciousness in the kitchen doorway. I'd meant to stay an hour, just enough to be polite. Then leave. Jordan found me on the back porch, where I'd retreated with a drink and the pretense of checking emails. There you are. She settled into the chair beside me without asking, pulling her jacket tighter against the October chill. Rebecca's been wondering where you went. Needed air? Yeah. She tilted her head back, looking at the sky. Boulder had that particular clarity sometimes, where the stars looked close enough to be implausible. I get that. Big groups are... She made a vague gesture. You always seem fine in groups.
Feel like I'm finally understood.
Practice. She said it lightly, but there was weight underneath.
We'll get through it together.
Social confidence is something you can build, like any other skill. She paused. It's mostly performance, honestly. I learned how to seem comfortable around people before I actually was. And now, somewhere in between. She glanced at me sideways. You're the opposite, genuinely at ease with yourself. Not great at tolerating other people. That's not... I stopped. Considered. Okay, that's fair. She laughed softly, and the sound dissolved some of the tension in my shoulders. Your design work, she said after a comfortable pause. Can I see it? You've mentioned projects, but I realized I have no idea what you actually make. I hesitated. Showing people work felt oddly vulnerable, more than physical vulnerability somehow. More personal. Sure, I heard myself say. I pulled up my portfolio on my phone and handed it over. Watched her face as she scrolled through. Brand identities, poster series, packaging design. She took her time, actually looking, not the polite 15-second scroll people usually gave. This one, she said, stopping on a project I'd done for a small women's athletics nonprofit. Bold typography, strong geometric shapes, a color palette I'd agonized over for days. This is really good. Like... Genuinely. The way you use the negative space here, it's doing twice the work. You know design? I know nothing about design. But I know when something makes me feel something. She handed the phone back. This makes me feel like I should run a marathon or start a revolution. Maybe both. Something in my chest did a complicated maneuver. Thank you, I said, looking at the yard rather than at her. I mean it. You're really talented, Maya. Not just on the court. We stayed out there while the party hummed inside, talking about small things at first. Her store, my clients, a book she'd been meaning to read, and then gradually less small things. She told me about a player she'd coached 2 years ago who'd struggled with anxiety and how they'd worked through it. I told her about a project I'd almost given up on that had turned into the work I was proudest of. At some point, a third drink appeared in my hand, and the stars got a little closer. Can I ask you something? Jordan's voice had gone lower, quieter. The background noise from inside seemed very far away. Depends. Why do you keep waiting for me to do something wrong? I turned to look at her. In the low light of the porch, she looked different, softer at the edges. Her guard was down in a way I'd only seen glimpses of before. You do. Not accusatory, just honest. Every time I say something decent, there's a split second where you look surprised, like you were expecting something else. She turned her glass in her hands. I know I can come on strong. I know my coaching style is intense. But you react to me like you're bracing for something, and I can't figure out why. My mouth went dry. I just don't trust easily, I said carefully. It's not specific to you. Okay. She seemed to accept that, but something in her expression said she'd file it away and come back to it later. For what it's worth, I'm trying to be someone worth trusting. I haven't always been, but I'm trying. She said it without self-pity, without asking for anything. Just a statement of fact. This is what I am. This is what I'm doing. I know, I said, and meant it. Jordan looked at me then. Really looked. In that way she had, that made me feel like she could see past the surface into all the complicated machinery underneath. You know, she said slowly, I feel like I already know you, like we've met before. Isn't that strange? Every molecule in my body went still. People say that, I managed. Yeah, but I mean it specifically. Something about you feels... She shook her head, searching. Familiar. Like I should remember something I can't quite reach. The night air suddenly felt very thin. I have a common face, I said. She smiled, but it was distracted, still reaching for whatever was half-formed in her memory. Maybe, or maybe some people just immediately feel like... She paused. Like home, even when they're complicated and locked door and impossible to read. The silence stretched. Inside, someone had switched the music to something slow. The light through the back windows caught the edge of Jordan's jaw, the curve of her shoulder. I need to go, I thought. Right now, this second. Jordan. The back door swung open. Rebecca's head appeared, along with a significant amount of noise and the strong smell of queso. There you both are. We're doing a team photo. Come on, come on. She vanished back inside, leaving the door open. The moment broke. Jordan stood extending a hand to help me up. I took it. She held on a half-second longer than necessary before letting go. 3 days later, Jordan showed up at my coffee shop. I was deep in a brand revision, laptop open, earbuds in, the strategic Tuesday morning silence I depended on for serious work. I had a column of color swatches open on one side of the screen and a client email open on the other. I was in the zone, unreachable. Professionally productive. Then the chair across from me was pulled out, and Jordan Hayes sat down with a large coffee and an expression that suggested she had absolutely no intention of going anywhere. I took out one earbud. What are you doing here? Working. She opened her own laptop. My apartment has terrible Wi-Fi. I'm basically homeless professionally. There are other coffee shops. This is the best one. She settled in, clearly comfortable. I won't bother you. She didn't. At least not in any way she could be accused of. She worked quietly, occasionally making small frustrated noises at whatever was on her screen. She ordered a second coffee. She stretched her arms above her head at one point, an emotion that was completely incidentally in my field of vision. After 45 minutes of this, I said, "What are you working on?" Sponsorship proposal for the team. Trying to get a local sports equipment company to fund new uniforms. She turned the laptop toward me. The document was functional, but aesthetically grim. Dense text, wrong fonts, no visual hierarchy whatsoever. I keep thinking it needs something, and I don't know what. I looked at it for 3 seconds. It needs everything. Harsh. It needs a visual identity, a color story, some hierarchy. Your strongest points are buried. This paragraph here, I pointed at her screen, should be your opening. Jordan stared at where I was pointing. Huh? If you want, I stopped. This was exactly the kind of organic closeness that I was supposed to be avoiding. Doing favors that meant spending more time together. Could what? Her voice was careful, like she was afraid of startling something. I could help you reformat it, it would be quick. Professionally. Yeah? Don't make it weird. I'm not making it weird. But she was smiling. That would be really helpful, actually, genuinely. We spent the next hour working side by side, me redesigning the proposal's layout and structure while Jordan refined the content based on my questions about what she actually needed the sponsors to feel and understand. She knew exactly what she wanted once I asked the right questions. She was good at articulating value. Here, I turned my laptop toward her, same content, completely transformed. Clear hierarchy, clean typography, the team's colors used deliberately throughout. Jordan stared at it for a long moment. Maya, it's just formatting. It looks like something real, like something worth funding. She looked up from the screen. We were sitting across a small coffee shop table and the distance between us was not a lot. Thank you. You'd do the same. I said it automatically, then caught myself. Would she? Did I actually believe that? Yes. Annoyingly, I did. She did do the same. In fact, 30 minutes later, when I mentioned offhandedly that I was stuck on the color psychology for a client project, Jordan pulled up her phone and started researching athletic brand color usage with the same focused intensity she brought to everything, reading me interesting details, asking follow-up questions about my client's target demographic, genuinely engaged in a design problem that had nothing to do with volleyball. At some point, we'd stopped working on separate things and started working together. The sun had moved significantly across the windows before I noticed. I have a call at 3, I said reluctantly. Yeah, I've got to be at the store at 4. Jordan was already gathering her things, but slowly, prolonging. This was good though, right? The proposal is good. The team will probably get their uniforms. I meant this. She gestured between us, working together, being somewhere that wasn't a gym. It was good. I looked at her. At the ease in her posture, the openness in her expression, the way she looked at me like I was something she'd been looking for without knowing it. The memory rose without warning. The party 2 years ago, the courage it had taken to find her in the crowd, the way my voice had shaken when I said, I think I have feelings for you. And then that laugh, not a cruel laugh, maybe, but a careless one. A reflexive, dismissive sound that had said louder than any words. You're not someone I see that way. You're not someone I really see at all. I'd been no one to her, not worth remembering. And now she was sitting here, looking at me like I was the most interesting room she'd ever walked into.
Perfect, thanks.
Yeah, I said, my voice coming out steadier than I felt. It was good. Outside, we paused on the sidewalk. Boulder was doing its October thing, air sharp and gold. The flatirons lit up, against a sky that looked almost artificially blue. Same time Thursday? Jordan asked. Practice as usual, normal, predictable. Yeah. She nodded, started to go, then turned back. Maya, whatever it is that you're holding on to. She stopped herself, seemed to reconsider. Never mind. I'll see you Thursday. She walked away. I watched her go longer than I should have. My phone buzzed. A text from Lily. Mom wants to know if you're bringing someone to Thanksgiving. And then, 30 seconds later, from Jordan. A single emoji. A small generic star. No explanation. No context. I stood on the sidewalk holding my phone, heart doing something complicated, trying very hard not to read anything into a star emoji from a woman who didn't remember that she'd already broken me once. Trying. And failing. That night, I opened my sketchbook. The physical one, not the digital files. The one I used when something needed to exist outside of a screen. I drew Jordan without meaning to. Not her face exactly, just impressions. The way she stood at the edge of the court. The angle of her shoulders when she was concentrating. The specific quality of her smile when it was just for me. I closed the sketchbook, shoved it under a pile of client folders, stood there for a moment in the middle of my quiet, organized, carefully constructed apartment. Then I opened it again and kept drawing.